All right, I'm here with my buddy Mowgli, and in this video, we're going to go over some tips you can use if you have a dog that has separation anxiety like my buddy Mowgli does. And so, yes, and you're facing the camera this time, well, at least somewhat, yes. When it comes to separation anxiety, it's essentially a panic attack that dogs go into when they're left alone from lack of practice of being alone. Prior to Corona, it was estimated about 50% of all dogs suffered from some level of separation anxiety. That number is much, much higher because we've all been working from home for so long. And so dogs they need to practice everything they do. Now, if your dog has separation anxiety, often it manifests with barking, which is one of the things that she does, drooling, chewing, losing control of their bowels. Some dogs will pace and whine. None of these things are intentional. The dog is essentially having a panic attack. So any sort of punishment, the guardians here know this and don't do this, but a lot of people watch my videos. If your dog pees on the carpet, you come home and get mad about it, that's only going to make it worse. So there's no punishment that should be applied when your dog has separation anxiety. Now, the dogs that have separation anxiety, usually it starts manifesting before we actually leave. And the reason for this is they recognize our departure ritual triggers. I pick up my bag, I grab my phone, I grab my purse, I grab my keys, my sunglasses, I put on a uniform. I put my shoes on, a special pair of shoes that I only wear when I'm leaving. So the dog sees us do these rituals, yes, and then it's followed by us leaving, so the dog starts getting worked up before we actually leave. Also, when you, a quick note, when you come and go, don't make a big deal out of it. If you make a big deal out of it, that can make it a little, dogs more anxious. Now, let me see, a couple quick housekeeping notes while I'm on this. Make sure that you are exercising your dog beforehand. Exercise is not going to solve or fix separation anxiety, but it will make it easier to fix it. They don't have as much energy, stamina to put forth towards freaking out. So what you want to do is, for example, if the keys are a trigger, I might just pick up the keys and then put them back down. I might get up and put my uniform on and then sit down and watch TV all day. Or I might grab my purse and then sit down. I'm doing all these things independently of each other. I'm just grabbing my keys only, not doing the keys and then my shoes and then my uniform and then my purse and my sunglasses, because that's the order that you go through. And if you can identify what the order is, eventually you can start doing a combo of those. But after a while, just pick up the keys, jingle, put them back down. So it's much ado about nothing. So you do all the triggers individually until when you pick up the keys, Mowgli's like, whatever. And then now I pick up the keys and my purse. So I start doing combinations. And eventually you work up to all the departure ritual, but you don't actually leave. We're going to actually do a departure ritual practice at the end of this video, but we want to make sure the dog is not doing it. Now, can you show Mowgli real quick? See, Mowgli is breathing. You can see Mowgli's chest is going, and the mouth is open, breathing a little bit. Breathing heavily like that can be an indication of stress. Yawn can also be an indication of stress. All right, you can come back to me. So if you do recognize that your dog starts panting heavily or drooling or the eyes get really big or stiff as you're going through these things, take note of what you're doing and add those to the list of things that you need to practice desensitizing. All right, so you're going to work on that, desensitizing the whole process of what you're doing here. I'm going to kind of condense everything in one video, but this is something you're going to do over the course of several weeks, a little bit at a time, and a lot of them are overlap. Okay, so while we're working on desensitizing our dog, we want to also help our dog practice being apart from us. Now, we think of the dog being right here where my keys are as being with us, and then when we leave as being apart from us. But there's actually a lot of shades in between them. So right now, Mowgli is sitting, as you saw on the camera, you don't have to pan, but Mowgli is sitting about 12 feet away from me. So that is practicing being somewhat apart from me. Now, I'm not Mowgli's guardian, so it's not that big of a deal. But for you guys, if the dog is always right next to you, then I don't have practice being somewhat apart. And that's a little bit of the premise of what we're going to be doing for the next couple steps, is we want Mowgli to practice being somewhat apart. So I'd like to have a dog bed is what I usually like to do, and I usually like to put it here in front of the TV. Now, we're in Hollywood, so it's kind of a little bit of a, there we go, look at that. It's Hollywood. See, you say something and it just appears. This is a little bit of a confined, cozy apartment, and so there's not as much space here. But if we're sitting on the couch and the dog's sitting here in front of the TV, Mowgli's like, wow, look at my humans. They're just watching me all day long. We're really just watching TV. And you can move it in different parts of your house, but it helps the dog practice being somewhat apart from you. Is there anything wrong with your dog on the furniture? No. But if it's always next to you and then you leave, you're going from 100% access to you to 0, which is the biggest jump there is. And that's unsettling for a lot of dogs and a lot of people if we have 100% removal of something. Okay, so to teach the dog to go to the dog bed on cue, I might just go like this and then just say, leave it there. And her marker word is yes, yes, and then she licks up the treat. Now, I have 2 dog beds in my house in Nebraska. One of them is called Jamaica, because I've always wanted to go to Jamaica. The other one's called Venice, because I live in Santa Monica. Venice. Yes. So I say the word before I toss the treat or lure the treat, and as soon as the dog steps on the dog bed, I say the marker word. And then I wait for the dog to leave, and right now she's kind of triggering my hand, so I'm just going to wait. And I'm not calling her off, because the whole point is we want her to practice being on the dog bed. Jamaica. Yes. And so after a while, the dog starts figuring out, when I go here, good things happen, because we have a marker word now, the dog knows what that is. And we'd like to have the dog hanging out here. Now, one of the things that I do, I'm definitely going to reward that, yes. I should have said yes for the lay down, but that was great. Sometimes you can get like a bully stick and drill a hole. Actually, I have one from our buddies over at Best Bully that supplies us with these really good odor-free bully sticks. But if you take a bully stick and you drill a hole through the end of it, and take a zip tie, zip it to like a dumbbell that's on the dog bed, the only place the dog can chew on this is on the dog bed. So it gives them another incentive. Yes, I know you want this. You're going to get this in a minute, but not quite yet. We're going to save this for our departure ritual, and then you'll get it back. We'll put it in here and keep it nice and safe and secure for you. Okay, no, it should go in my mouth. All right, so yes, and so basically we want to help our dog practice being apart from us, and another way to accomplish this is teaching your dog to stay. Now, dogs actually have a stay and there's a wait. Most people actually teach the dog wait when they think they're teaching stay. Stay means stay here until you hear the release word. Release, break, freedom, whatever the word is you want to use. And only that word. Most people actually say stay, come. Well, that's more of a wait. Wait means wait until the next cue. It could be come, it could be release, it could be lay down, it could be find it, or anything else. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to introduce the stay so that Mowgli can practice staying in a room by herself while we're in the other room. Now, when you're teaching a dog to stay, there's 3 Ds for stay: duration, distance, and distraction. For some reason, we try to do as many of them as we can in the most complicated way possible. We say stay, take a step back, stay, take a step back, stay, and then come. And again, you shouldn't, first of all, repeat the word multiple times. And if I'm moving away, that's really hard for dogs to resist. So what we want to do instead, I like to do the distraction, because distraction allows me to add duration to it. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Now, her release word was go, and I don't like using the word go as a release word because it's one of the most commonly used words in the English language, and a lot of dogs might be accidentally released because you're saying go in a conversation with somebody else. So I'm going to have Mowgli come over here. Somebody's phone is going nuts. That's all right. I just hear it vibrating or something. We have a world-class talent, or a booking agent here. So it's probably somebody looking to book an amazing band for an event. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say stay when I extend my hand. Now, a lot of people say stay and they get that close to the dog's nose. Don't do that. Thank you. I appreciate you were okay with it. But most dogs don't like it. It's off-putting. So what I'm going to say stay. Then I'm going to pull my hand back, and I'm going to offer one distraction, moving my elbow up. Then I'm going to say the marker word yes, because she didn't move, and then I'm going to provide her with a treat. Now, I like to think of each stay as a cycle. So I'm going to start the cycle with the stay, and then I end it by giving the dog a treat. And then I decide, am I going to have the dog practice again, or am I going to release the dog? So I'm going to do a couple. I'm going to do 3 of them, and then I'm going to show you how to do a release. And we're going to use the word release as her release word. So I'm going to say stay, and then I'm going to give her one distraction, and then say yes, and then give her the treat. Next time I'm going to say stay, and I'll offer 2 distractions. 1, 2, yes, treat. And now I'm going to do it with 3 distractions. Stay, 1, 2, 3, yes. And when I'm done, however many repetitions I want to do when I want to be done, then I'm going to toss a treat and say the release word at the same time like this. Release. That causes the dog to get up and move away. So I just practice 3 there. Some people might practice 5 or 10 or whatever the case may be. Now, don't always make it linearly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5, 3. So every once in a while you throw an easy one in there. So otherwise the dog's like, you're always asking for more criteria. Now, if your dog gets up and moves away, that's called an auto release. We don't want that. So that means that we ask for too much criteria too quickly. When I'm doing these movements, I'm counting how many movements, because that's actually how many seconds we're doing. So let's say I get to the point where I'm at 15 movements and I go to 16 and she gets up and moves away, then I need to back up to 15 and practice at 15 a couple times, then try to go back to 16. So it's important that she has an 100% 100% stay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use the surroundings to do a stay for distance, which you shouldn't do distance until you can do 30 seconds or more of distractions before you start moving away. Now, another quick little note. Don't keep eye contact with your dog the entire time you're doing this, because eventually we're going to leave the room. If we're always locking eye contact when we leave the room, yes, then the dog breaks eye contact. A lot of times it will auto-release. So what I'm doing, I might say stay, look around, look at my phone, and you're going to basically kind of, you want the dog to stay despite the fact you're not following and monitoring them. And you shouldn't say stay multiple times. You say stay once, and then you say your marker word at the conclusion of the stay, however long you want to go, then you say your release word. Okay, now once I get to the point where I've got 30 to 60 seconds of motions and I'm not moving away at all until I've reached a minimum of 30 seconds, then I'm ready to use stay for and add some steps in. Now, when you do this, when you step away, actually I'll show you over here. Come here, Mowgli. Let's get you on your dog bed. Come here. Sit. Okay, we don't have to have you on your dog bed to do it. So when I step away, and you don't have to see my face if you can, it's more important you see here from in my torso. So I stay. Yes. Now, most of the time when we leave our dog, we're not going to walk backwards. So eventually I would say, but the first couple times it's easier because you are maintaining your eye contact and your front focus. But eventually you'd say stay. Yes. But the first time that you move away, you want to come back right away because it's really hard when you start moving away. Dogs are used to following us, especially dogs with separation anxiety, probably going to follow you. So if that was the case, where if I take one step, Mowgli is going to move away, then I would do it, break it down into small steps like this. So let's say moving one step away is too much, so I would say stay. Yes. And next one, can you see my torso? And I'd say stay. Yes. So I did my leg only, then my shoulder only. I might have to do each one of these a couple times. Now I might go like stay. Yes. So what I did is I broke it down into small steps. Instead of a full step backwards, it was just a half step, then a shoulder dip, and then a half step again, but with shoulder, and then eventually you take the step back. So always back up to previous level success if your dog has difficulty and gets up. And it's helpful if you have a security camera, something that allows you to watch your dog when you are finally leaving the area. Now, let's say that there's a wall right here and you can't see me here. When I get to the point, I don't want to disappear from the dog's view till I can be a good 10 paces away. And then when I'm doing this, again, I might walk this way or walk backwards. But once I come out of sight, I'm going to come right back. Because when you dip out of sight, that's really hard for dogs. So make sure that when you do that the first time, it's just a half a second, you pop right back. And if that's too much, I might like lean my face around the wall, but the dog can still see my torso. The next time I'm on my leg, but they can see my head. So again, break it down to small steps. All right, so eventually we want to get to the point where your dog can stay and you can leave the room completely. Yes, I'll reward that for sure. And once you can get to the point where your dog can do that and be relaxed, if your dog is breathing heavy, that's an indication it's not fully relaxed. So we want to make this a non-event. So that's why the exercise ahead of time helps. So once you get to the point where you can do this and it's a non-event, then you want to have the dog practice being in the other room while you play a video game, watch a movie, make out on the couch, write a song, whatever it is you want to do. And so the dog is practicing hearing that you're in the house. I can smell you. I heard the door. Whoops, I heard the door didn't open. So I know you're here, but you're not immediately in my purview. So I'm practicing being calm, independent of the presence of my guardian, if that makes sense. And it takes a lot of practice. So don't go from too big of a jump. A lot of people do. They're like, I'm up to 5 minutes. So next time I'm going to go out and run to Starbucks real quick and then come back. Well, what if there's a long line at Starbucks? And in the 5 minutes or the 6 minutes you want to do turns out to be 12. And let's say Mowgli does great for 11 minutes and the 12th minute starts panicking. Well, they kind of undoes a lot of the work that we've already done. So we want to make sure that the dog feels comfortable and confident because we're going in slow enough steps. And again, every once in a while, I'll throw an easy one in there for it. Okay, so the next step, so you want to get to the point where you can actually have a meal in the other room while Mowgli stays here. And also remember, dogs don't generalize well. So sometimes Mowgli practices staying in here, sometimes Mowgli practices staying there, or the bathroom, or the other bedroom, or whatever it is. Dogs, like I said, need a lot of variety. And if your dog's whining or anxious, that means you're going too far. Go back to an easier step. All right, the last step what we're going to do is I'm going to invite the guardian to come over here in a sec, and she's actually going to leave, and we're going to show you how to do the departure ritual. And so we're going to see it twice. Now, this is probably not going to be the best example. I just shot one the other day. It was great because I was the only person there. It was only one guardian. So she left, the dog went up and chased her the first time, but the second time was content having the bully stick. So I've got my odor-free bully stick from Best Buddy, and so what we're going to do is I'm going to actually give this to Mom. And Mom's going to come over here, and we'll see if you can stay on camera. And basically, Mom's just going to go ahead and give the dog the treat on the dog bed, and then Mom's going to come and sit here on the couch. What we want the dog to do is kind of get into it. So you see how Mowgli got up because you gave me a bully stick, but then you started moving away. I'm worried. A lot of people trick our dogs. Go get the treats, and we run out the door. So don't trick your dog for that sort of thing. Yeah, there we go. You can get that one. That's a good one. Do I have to hold it for you a little bit to get started? Yes. If that's the case, you can soak one of the ends in it in hot water for about 3 minutes, and then that'll usually do the deed. It gets a little soft. So are you going to get into this? I should. Oh, there we go. All right. So we want to, before we start leaving, we want to first of all make sure your dog has had a bully stick or a kneecap or whatever the things are that you've done without you leaving. If you only do it when you leave, and that's how you start it, the dog's like not going to want to take the bully stick because it always represents you leaving. So we want to give Mowgli a chance to kind of get into this bully stick. Hopefully she is. And then once she does, I'm going to have the guardian, in a minute, I'm going to have her get up and just walk out the door. She's not going to say anything. She's not grabbing her keys. None of the triggers that we talked about at the beginning of this video are going to get activated. She's just going to simply turn around. And as soon as she turns around and closes that door, she's going to turn around and walk right back in and sit down on the couch as if nothing happened. And so we want to let the dog kind of get into the bully stick a little bit first before we do it. She's pretty much about there. Is the door going to lock when you go up?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and when you're doing this, if you want to position the camera so you can see Mowgli and the door, we'll see if Mowgli stops chewing the stick and gets up. Go ahead and just go out and just leave and come right back in. So Mowgli stopped chewing. There we go. Watching. No, you didn't latch the close. Yep, shut it all the way. And this often causes the dog to get up and move away. Come on back in, and then go sit down on the couch. So this is why it's helpful to have a security camera, because you wouldn't know this if you're leaving by yourself. Now, right now, the other guardian is filming, and I'm here. So that's not really the dog have separation anxiety, but still, that was too much for me, and I went up and went over to the door. So we're going to let her kind of go do that again. And we're going to do what kind of I talked about earlier for the stay. We're going to break this into easier steps. So for some dogs, us just walking towards the door is the trigger. Come on, this is easier. They say in Hollywood, you don't want to work with dogs or children. There we go. Okay, so now we saw that was when you closed the door that was when it was too much. So I'm going to have you do it this time. Remember, I'll have you walk over and jiggle the door handle, but not open it, and then come back and sit back down.
Okay.
So you saw Mowgli stopped chewing. That's our indicator that I'm getting close to my breaking point. Go ahead and do it again. Same thing you just did. And what we're looking for is the dog to continue chewing like Mowgli is now. Oh, there we go. And this time when you do it, I'm going to have you make just one sound when you grab the handle, because that's still a little bit too much.
Okay.
And that's, again, we have to go with the dog's pace. And every dog's going to be unique and different. Go ahead and do it again. Just one little jiggle, and we'll see if Mowgli keeps on chewing the whole time. There we go. So we have to go at the dog's pace. And the mistake that most of us make with separation anxiety, we go at our pace and not at the dog's pace. That's an indication the dog is continuing to chew, or the lick mat, or whatever it is that you've given them to do that is fun, that they enjoy doing. This time, let's jiggle it twice. And again, this is becoming much ado about nothing. So eventually, and we can go through this will be like an hour video. We're not going to do that. Well, so the next step is after I get to the point where I jiggle and Mowgli does not disengage from the stick, then I would flip the deadbolt. That's a different sound that is associated with us leaving. So eventually I go over and I jiggle, do the deadbolt only. And then when I get to the point where the dog continues chewing, then I go over and flex the deadbolt and then jiggle the handle. Now I'm doing a combination of them. When I open it, I would open it a ½ inch and close it right away and then come back and sit back down. And each time, I'm not giving the dog a treat. There's nothing that happens. Mowgli's like, blue shirt man comes and you're kind of a weirdo. You like go into the door, you play around with it and futz around and come back, but you don't leave. Eventually, we want to get to the point where we leave, but like you did the first time, you leave and you immediately come right back in. You're not latching the door. And I usually like doing that stage until I can leave and be outside the door. Eventually, we're going to be outside the door 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Go vary 1 second at a time until you get about 10 seconds. And you're watching your dog through your security camera to see, is she still chewing it? And she's not chewing it right now, but she's sniffing the ground and she seems very relaxed. I don't know what that is on the floor.
It's part of the stick.
Okay. And so, but the idea is she's not panicked and worried about anybody leaving. Now, eventually you're going to leave for longer and longer periods of time. I like to work up, and there's not a rhyme or reason when this is, but eventually we are going to lock the door. So usually sometime before I get up to 20 seconds, I get up to about 20 seconds first, and then when I leave, I latch the door. Then I unlatch it and come right back in just like you just did. But that latching is something we are going to do when we leave, and we want to make sure that that's also something the dog doesn't think that means you're abandoning me. Eventually, when you get to the point where you can go out, latch the door, and then stay outside for 20 seconds or whatever it is, you're watching it on your security camera. You might have to get yourself some lawn furniture, but a lot of people then start practicing. When you leave, you stay right outside your door. Make it sound like you're leaving, walk down the hallway, but then quietly come back, and you can use the Wi-Fi. Make sure you're on headphones so the dog can't hear you. And then you're able to, if the dog does start freaking out, you can immediately come back in. We don't want them to cry it out or practice freaking out. And so if we're going to Starbucks, it's going to take us 5 minutes to get back. That's 5 minutes the dog might practice reacting. Her case is not as extreme as a lot of the other dogs I've worked with, so I don't think it's going to be that hard. But eventually, you guys just sit out there and play on your computer or watch a movie or just read a book or whatever right outside the door. She can't hear you there, and we're watching her to make sure that she's comfortable, and we're gradually going to elongate that. Now, the book says once you get to 2 hours, you don't have to go beyond that. She basically, I think, barks for 5 minutes and then is done, right? So for her, we want to get past that 5-minute mark. That's a good indicator for her. Now, that doesn't mean once we get to 5 minutes, we're done. I would have you keep on doing that. Once you get to 10 minutes, I would probably go 1 second intervals until you get to like 30 or 60 seconds. Then you might do 5-second intervals. And again, if you go 5 seconds, that's too much, then go back to 3-second intervals or whatever it is. We want to build, just like the stay, we want to build success on top of success on top of success until eventually she's like, yeah, you leave, but you always come back and it's not a big deal. And so she's practicing being calm, relaxed, and content when our humans are gone. Now, you don't have to use the high-value item like this, but I find that high-value item gives me an indication if the dog feels comfortable or not. Getting up and pacing around is also an indication of anxiety, but just a lower level. But for some dogs, that pacing might be their top level. So every dog is unique, so just kind of take note of the things that your dog does when you're leaving so you know what the things are to watch for. Mowgli, you look like you're about to go to sleep. You want to come and get this treat? How about 2? Go get it. There you go. I want to sign off the video, and I want everybody to see your face and not your butt. Not that it's not a distinguished butt. Mowgli, sit. Well, this is my buddy Mowgli, and these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that suffers from separation anxiety.